All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for your patience. We're calling the meeting of October 24th to order. Would everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? And would the Kingdom of Kramer like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. We have just a few quick approvals and then we'll get right into the board recognition. For consent agenda item number C, 1 through 5, we need a motion to approve. Does anybody need the minutes pulled out? Let me just check that real quick. No, we don't need the minutes pulled out. So we can take the consent agenda as is. Motion for C 1 through 5. Motion by Mr. Nick, seconded by Dr. Griffin. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you for putting them down. Seeing all hands raised, the consent agenda item C 1 through 5 is approved unanimously. And now, Dr. Gianni.
Yes, thank you. This week, South Country Schools, along with school districts across New York State, are celebrating School Board's Recognition Week. Here in South Country, each year one of our schools organizes a celebration. This year, guess who it is? It's Kramer. Earlier this evening, prior to executive session, the board enjoyed a catered dinner courtesy of Kramer PTA, so thank you very much. It was simply wonderful. And to continue that recognition, I'm going to start by introducing the king of Kramer. Mr. Clark. Mr. Clark.
Thank you, Dr. Gianni. I just want to thank Dr. Gianni for inviting the Kramer Kingdom to be part of recognizing our amazing Board of Education this week. A lot of people don't realize on our Board of Education is made for volunteers and they're full-time volunteers. This is an amazing amount of work, and it can seem like a heavy load sometimes, but each and every one of them do this for no other reason than the love of these kids, and to give our kids the best education they can get. And as a sign of our appreciation for you, our students have been working on a little song, a very custom-made song, just for you, to let you know how much you mean to them, everything that you do for them. I want to introduce right now the head of our third grade course and Kramer Street music teacher, Miss Steers.
Our song is called Gratitude Attitude. We want to show how grateful we are to have the Board of Education.
Yeah, I was gonna say record from this way.
I've got a gratitude attitude. I've got a gratitude attitude. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've got a gratitude attitude. I've got a gratitude attitude. Yeah, yeah, yeah. What are you grateful for? I'm grateful for a Christmas relief. What are you grateful for? I'm grateful for a Christmas relief. What are you grateful for? I'm grateful for a trustee, Misty Santa. What are you grateful for? I'm grateful for a trustee, Dr. Griffin. I got a gratitude attitude. I got a gratitude attitude. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I got a gratitude attitude. I got a gratitude attitude. Yeah, yeah, yeah. What are you grateful for? I'm grateful for Miss Now. What are you grateful for? I'm trustee Miss Nix. What are you grateful for? I'm grateful for our trustee, Mr. What are you grateful for? I'm grateful our Miss Cartio's attitude. I got a gratitude attitude, yeah, yeah, yeah. I got a gratitude attitude. I got a gratitude attitude, yeah, yeah, yeah. What are you grateful for? I'm grateful for all the time hard work the Board of Ed puts in. What are you grateful for? I'm grateful for the teachers that hired me to grow. What are you grateful for? I'm grateful for the safe humane classroom I learn in. What are you grateful for? I'm grateful to be a part of Kramer Kingdom. I got a gratitude attitude. I got a gratitude attitude. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I got a gratitude attitude. I got a gratitude attitude. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Gratitude.
Mr. Clark, you have anything on the comment?
No, I just want to echo the sentiments in that song. And, you know, the Kramer Kingdom has a lot of wonderful things. We have wonderful teachers, wonderful resources, a great support system. And it would not be possible if it was not for the hard work of this Board of Education. So on behalf of the entire Kramer Kingdom, and you got a lot of them tonight, because you just don't invite a couple, they all come out. That's just how it works, sorry. On behalf of the whole school community, we thank you for everything you do for the district. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
And thank you for supporting them and staying the kids out here. Thank you very much.
Once again, on behalf of the board, and I'm sure everyone will make a comment, that was a fabulous performance. And we enjoyed every minute of it, so thank you so much. You put so much work into it. It showed. I'm so impressed with how patient you are, and it's a late night, it's a school night, so we do appreciate that patience. But I want to thank Mr. Clark and all the parents at the Kramer Street. The first year I was on the board, I was liaison to Kramer, and so that was my indoctrination into how to interact between the board. And so you paved the way for me, and I want to thank you for that. And now you have Mr. Nix to carry on in that tradition. He serves as your liaison. But I really enjoyed the time that I spent at Kramer and learning about the kingdom. And I love the tiles on the wall in your school. And who's in third grade? Anybody in third grade yet?
All of them.
Oh, you're all third graders. So you get to make your tiles this year, yes? Looking forward to that? Great. Well, when you do, I hope Mr. Clark invites the board back to come and see those new tiles. And Mrs. Steers, thank you. You do a wonderful job wherever you are. So thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Gordon? We want to do a group picture, yes, we do. You want to go around the room first, and then we'll do a picture?
Let's do the picture so they can go home.
Do the picture so they can go
You
home?
know, they got a Monster Mash tomorrow night too,
Monster
so,
Mash?
yeah.
It's a big week
Okay.
for these guys.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to do a group
Sleep for
picture.
that.
All right, why don't we line the board up here, and we'll get the kids in front of us. Rich, I feel less short.
Yes, Miss Garrett.
So everybody make sure I can see your face, okay? Make sure you
Stay there,
can
because
see
your
me.
parents have to get pictures too.
Anybody first?
Of course.
Parents want to step up, come on up in front. Don't be shy.
They never are.
Very good.
Great.
All right, guys. We'll see you in the morning.
Thank you.
Great job, Don't forget, we can take anything tomorrow. I gotta get creative with this. It's such a challenge.
What's that? I see that, but it's never giving me a problem. Do we have another one lying around? How's everything? Everything's good, is it?
I know, it's not.
Oh, yeah. Don't worry about everybody else, we'll not look good. One that makes me look skinniest. You know those iPhone cameras, they have like 50 pounds, so. What's that? My battery's dead on my Surface, I can't get it on. So,
Yeah, that's gonna be stuck in my head.
Just don't tell there's no access.
One of my former students, and when he was at Melbourne, and he's got a third grade.
Oh, one of
You
yours?
see it.
One of my former students, he's now a parent.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Old. Old.
you know, one wife.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, sure. This is the.
All right, let's get Max.
It was flash. Yeah. Let's see if this comes on or not.
You are still in session. are up to the superintendent's report.
Okay, thank you. I am moving along with my report. I'm happy to report that the rollout of our mobile library was a complete success on homecoming weekend, first in its debut in the homecoming parade, driven by our own Mr. White, and then at the game where students of all ages visited and received free books. Thank you to Mrs. Lindo, Mrs. Fedora, and Jamie Papandrea from Brookhaven Free Library for volunteering their time to be with the library. The next stop of the mobile library was the Bellport Middle School Harvest Festival this past weekend. Again, a big hit at the festival, as reported by librarian Amanda Mason, who volunteered her time to stay with the library. And speaking of the Harvest Fest, my wife and I had the opportunity to visit this past weekend and a very nice time. However, I didn't have much luck with the rubber chicken event. No coaching from, I think it's Brianne Johnson was running that event. She turned my chicken vertical for the last try, and that was the way it had to be set the whole time. I asked her why I didn't get it the other way. By my observation alone, it was clearly a successful event. Thank you to the many students and staff who volunteered their time for the Harvest Fest. Congratulations to Mr. DePuma, who organized the event, and Dr. Colson and his administrative team, all who were in attendance. Earlier this month, I had the privilege of participating in BHS's TV first television episode. The episode actually aired today, and students did a wonderful job, and not because I was in the first episode, of course, but if you haven't seen it already, the link is or will be on our website, because it's on Vimeo. Does anyone know that if it's on the website yet?
I saw it on YouTube or
YouTube?
Yeah.
They are putting the link on the website if it's not there or already, so check it out if you haven't. And lastly, I recently received notice from Suffolk County Police Department that the 2018 Cops Office Stop School Violence Prevention Grant application was not awarded. Part of that grant was the funding of the virtual network router, which would have allowed police to access it to our security cameras in emergency situations. You may have heard of that last spring, I think. It was announced by the county executive. Unfortunately, that grant was not funded, so that is not an initiative we will be seeing here in the district. And that is all the report that I have. Ms. Lisa?
Okay. All right, we're on to trustee reports. Lisa, Mrs. Santa, would you like to begin?
Sure. Well, I get to be the first to thank Kramer Street for that wonderful presentation. It made me smile and almost even made me cry, because these things do make me emotional, and quite frankly, it is the most gratifying thing when, as a board member, you get to see students throughout the district, and to have a group of students come in and be thankful that we happen to be a board member. There's nothing better than that. That's the icing on the cake, and it's chocolate, by the way. So, one of the things I wanted to remind everyone of is that Bellport High School will be performing Moon Over Buffalo, and that's coming up next weekend. So Friday, November 2nd, it's coming up already, and November 3rd, the Saturday, both at 7:30. So if you have not taken the opportunity to see our students perform, please do. It is by far, tickets usually $10, and it will be the best $10 you've ever spent. So please mark your calendars, and hopefully you'll be able to attend one of those performances. And the tickets are sold at the door. So please do come and support our students in that production. Thanks.
Ms. Bennett.
My only comment is to thank our children who have already gone for the hard work that they did, to say thank you for this, for our work, but they're the reason why we do it, and it's greatly appreciated that they say thank you, but it's just watching them, that's a reminder of the reason behind all the work. So a great job done by them, and thank you to the PTA who provided us with dinner.
I'll echo what the other trustee said. I'm sure we're gonna hear, so you can hear it 7 times. A real big thank you to Kramer Street. I don't know if I like the dinner or the song more. Just kidding, I like my food. No, but it was nice. They call us a thankless job, but that's not always true, especially on nights like tonight. So, thank you for the superintendent for putting it together and for Kramer Street. And each year a building gets recognized, and it really is a nice night. So, thank you. Happy to report that Puccini kids are happy with the new playground next door at Kritz, now that it's installed. One loves it, one's not so sure, because she says it doesn't look like the picture that I showed her a couple weeks ago. So, but she's a little tough to please. No, but happy that that's finally installed, and the kids can enjoy that. And we haven't been here in a while, I don't think, since homecoming. So, the homecoming festivities, I didn't get to make it to the parade. But it was nice to see the floats in the game, and it was a nice festive week. I know my son went to the dance, and apparently the dance was a lot of fun and well attended. So kudos to everybody that put that on. I didn't really hear a negative comment at all about anything, so it was really nice. And I think it was the first year in 3 years we've actually had the parade because of weather.
Or was it?
Yeah, I think the last 2 years it's been canceled, so it was really nice. It's nice when the community come out for that piece. Not everybody can make the football game. Some people can make the parade, and it's real nice. I guess the question I have is, we don't bring the floats out on the track anymore?
We haven't since I've been here.
Is that right? Well, we used to bring them up in the back corner, up on the opposite side. At least we brought them up so they could be visible. I know they're in the parking lot, but the parking lot's such a madhouse. I wonder if we should just maybe talk about that again next year. I mean, not an issue, but I would have loved to have seen the floats a little bit more visible.
We can certainly.
Why don't we bring them on the track? Is it timing? Is it logistics?
Usually when you have a newer track, it's problematic with the surface. An older track not. But also, the homecoming time is already extended to halftime.
Sure.
And if you.
I know a lot of other districts do it.
Parading
That's
around, it depends
Yeah.
what you do. You have to get it into the
Yeah,
organization.
I know that some other districts did it. That's why I thought I'd ask, but no worries. Wonderful, and the floats were really cool.
Yeah.
That I did. I think the kids really did a great job. I forget who won, the juniors won or the seniors?
Wasn't the same.
It wasn't the seniors. It was like the juniors. I heard it was. Yeah. So anyway, thank you. That's it.
That's perfect.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Clark, and the Kramer Kingdom kids. Phenomenal. It really is, as Mr. Puccini said. There are many things, and the community is very gracious with thank yous. But that is really at the heart of it when you're hearing it directly from the kids. So thank you so much. Also, Dr. Colson, for the Harvest Festival. I apologize for not being there, but I've heard nothing but great things. So I'm sure it was a wonderful event, and sorry I missed it.
Mr. Nix.
Being the liaison for Kramer Street Elementary School, I thank you, Principal Clark. What a beautiful song. That'll be stuck in my head for a little while. Very catchy. Another Kramer news, I got to attend the Kramer Kingdom Welcome Back Party last week, and that was very exciting to see the school community so engaged with all the teachers at Kramer Street, all the faculty, Principal Clark. It was really a beautiful sight, so thank you for having me. Also, the BHS TV, very exciting. I was happy to see Dr. Gianni on there. That's very cool. And I think Principal Hogan will be making an appearance too, if I'm not mistaken. I thought I saw that. And it got me thinking about something that we've been talking about now that we have Syntax, and we're so excited about that. With our social media accounts, and we have a very active Twitter and Facebook, maybe expanding that based on what we had saw from the survey that we did last year in regards to maybe creating an Instagram account. I was talking to a student at one of my visits to Belport High School, Philip Abate, I believe his name is, last year, and we were talking about the possibility of making an Instagram virtual calendar for the school district. Posting each day what's going on within all of the schools on Instagram, since that's a very popular social media outlet for our students. While Facebook might be popular for the parents, Instagram is popular for the students. So I just thought I would bring that up here to see the possibility of expanding our social media universe as we move forward.
Okay. All right, thank you. And Ms. Hunt?
Yes, thank you to Kramer Street. I definitely have a gratitude attitude right now. Thank you very much. It was a wonderful performance by the kids. great. I love Kramer Kingdom, Mr. Clark. My daughter came from there. It's a wonderful concept to get everybody involved, the kids and everything. Thank you, Ms. Stieritz, for teaching the kids the song. What a beautiful song. Very creative. It's a catchy tune, too. Very catchy. So I enjoyed that. Kudos to the kids. Homecoming. So exciting. We won too. It was great. Homecoming I enjoyed, from the breakfast to the parade, running down Main Street. What is that, South Country? Running down South Country, trying to watch everything going on, and then the game. And it was just a topper with the game, with us winning. It was just a great event. I like to run up and down the sidelines as the game goes on. So that was also exciting. Kudos to you, Mr. Colson, and your staff and Strong Youth for the Hispanic Heritage Month. The event, what was it, 2 Fridays ago? 2 Fridays ago. The food was good, the entertainment was good. It looks like the kids really, really enjoyed themselves. It was a very, very nice event a couple of weeks ago. Sorry I missed the Harvest Festival. I usually go, but I had a prior engagement, but I'll be there next year.
All right, a lot of things have gone on. First, I want to apologize that I was one of the trustees who couldn't attend the last meeting and was the reason for its cancellation. So I do apologize. It's something that couldn't be avoided. Nevertheless, we'll get everything done here tonight. Want to thank Dr. Gianni for inviting the board and me and Ms. Hunt to attend the ribbon cutting ceremony for the Frank P. Long Courtyard. It was a beautiful day. I think I saw the principal walk in. Did I see them? There they are. There they are. Principal and assistant principal were put on a spectacular display featuring all the elements in the courtyard. And actually, Dr. Griffin was there too. I apologize. Dr. Griffin was there with us as well. And we couldn't have been more proud of the project and an initiative that we undertook last year. With a lot of stress involved, and it turned out to be just wonderful. And what was more exciting to learn, in our effort to get water to move away from the building and not infiltrate the building that was coming from the courtyard, the night before we had a horrific rainstorm, and that courtyard was dry as a bell. The next day. In fact, I visited Frank P. Long again on bingo night, and it rained that day too. And they also said they had people out in the courtyard. It dried right up, so it's doing well, and we should be very proud. And I hope to hear many more stories from teachers. I think if we can get reports of the classrooms that are using the courtyard and what they're using it for. And I know there was an issue, as we spoke about, that the turtle habitat could not be maintained, and they are safely in a habitat right now. But Dr. Gianni was very generous in donating, are they brass?
Cast iron.
Cast iron turtles throughout the courtyard. In fact, Dr. Gianni and I were in a little competition trying to find them and count how many we could find, but it's just a spectacular project that was finished, and I hope everybody gets a chance to see it, and I hope that everyone in Frank P. gets to enjoy it for a long, long time. So congratulations again on that. Echoing the comments about homecoming, it was spectacular. Love that we had a lot of alumni, football players come back. I love that we have Gio Giannotti, who's a radio personality from WFAN, graduate of Belport. He was in attendance, did the coin toss. We took a few pictures with the coin, so it was a great day all around. And Mr. Piccini and I come from the same district that we graduated from, and we're used to seeing the floats on the field. So I agree with you there that if we can get the floats on the field, it would be nice. Many committee meetings took place this week. I won't go into all the details of the committee meetings, only to say that we had probably just one absence out of all four committees that met this week. And that was myself, who couldn't be at the Finance Committee, but I was at the other three. Other than that, we had a full attendance at every committee, which is spectacular. So the Health and Safety Committee met with Mr. Briggs, spoke about all the emergency response, active shooting, reactivating the school climate committees, so on and so forth. The building indoor air quality committees will be reactivated, and then also spoke to the RAVE and the SAVE Act. Maybe you can speak to that a little bit more as well, okay? Because those safety initiatives are being implemented, and we do want to make sure that our community is well aware of it. Then we had the Strategic Planning Committee. Also distributed the board priorities, so the board should rest assured that the Strategic Planning Committee did receive a copy of our board priorities. There was a consensus among that committee to reactivate the Visions Committee, or not reactivate it, but continue the work of the Visions Committee. That ties into what Mr. Nix mentioned before about the survey and making sure that what our students and community wants to see improved upon in our district, we certainly follow through on. Also, New York State instituted a sweeping sexual harassment prevention policy and training, which the district is actively underway with measuring. We are with implementing. We are going to receive an ESSA presentation tonight. Is that tonight?
No, no.
That's not tonight?
Well, it's been mentioned, no, student achievement time.
Student achievement tonight. Okay, well, we did talk about the ESSA presentation at strategic planning. Teach and Learn Committee, first time I ever attended the Teach and Learn Committee. And attended that with Dr. Griffin. What we are going to hear about tonight on the stone cap, is that what it is? Capstone. We'll be hearing about tonight. Very enlightening. You'll see more about that. And then I also attended the community leadership meeting that Dr. Gianni heads up. And Compass Unity made a presentation at that meeting, which was also very well received on drug and alcohol prevention. So we'll be doing a lot more work with Compass Unity and our students. Dr. Gianni also proudly spoke about the mobile library and the events that are happening out at both of our libraries as well. We had a retirement party that I was in attendance for. Jorge Jimenez, who retired as our data person. Also, a good time was had by all. There were a lot of administrators there, and Mr. Briggs, you did a wonderful job at honoring the 36 years of his service to the district. So congratulations on a job well done. Brookhaven Elementary. Is Brookhaven here? Yeah, Brookhaven, there you are. Attended their book fair and PTA, and fortunate enough for me, it was also student achievement recognition for their summer reading program. And every student who completed the summer reading program was awarded with a certificate by Dr. Raymond, and it was a great night as well. So thank you for inviting me to attend. Vern Kritz, went to the Vern Kritz family Halloween night. Those costumes were magnificent. I couldn't get over the makeup on the students. The parents went all out on makeup, and there was a game. You should have gone to those games. You may have had more success. But it was a great night, and I watched some of the magic show, but I didn't get to see the bunny that everybody was talking about. So I hope it went over well. Okay, all right, great. And then in conclusion, at the Bellport Middle School, attended the Hispanic Heritage Night, and it was nice to see that you, Dr. Colson, and all of your administrators were there in support of the recognition. And then I also burdened Dr. Colson with giving me a tour of the entire building, which I had never taken before. And I did 7,000 steps in that tour, which I was very proud of, and only needed to use the elevator to go down the stairs. I was able to go up every stair, but he took me in and out of every hallway in the middle school, and I have to say, hats off to the custodial staff, to the maintenance staff, because it was pristine. The entire school was pristine, and I was there during lunch period. So it was a bit busy, the hallways were busy, but they were well managed, and I just want to thank you again for giving me that tour. It gave me a nice insight as to just how much we have to offer at our middle school. And I'll be, for the other principals in the room, stand by. I'll be coming to your school next. Okay? So thank you very much. That concludes my report. And where are we?
We're moving on to, well, public.
Public portion. Do we have any cards? We have no cards. So I will dispense with reading the guide to the public meetings. And now we're on to the student achievement result presentation.
Before we do, your mention of the Brookhaven Book Fair reminded me to give Brookhaven and the Brookhaven PTA a shout out for all the donated books for the mobile library. Thank you so much. And now we will move on to the first item for discussion, which is student achievement, or student academic achievement results for the 2017-18 school year. Mr. Small will be making that presentation. Mr. Small.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Jeremy, and thank you to the Board of Education. I would be remiss if I didn't thank Mr. Clark and the Cramer Kingdom for their performance here tonight. It's a little bit hard following a room filled with kids. So again, I might disappoint you because I'm not singing as lovely as the kids were, and I didn't bring any food today, so please forgive me. So, but it was a job well done, sir. So thank you. I have the distinct pleasure to present to you our student achievement data this year again. I want to bring your attention to a few of the board priorities that you approved just a few weeks ago, because a lot of the data or information I'll be presenting to you tonight are directly related to some of these priorities, which are to develop and support our teaching and learning that are aligned to the New York State learning standards, and ensuring that all students receive skilled instruction leading to attainment at grade level learning expectations or above. Or to improve student performance in the Common Core curriculum, grades K through 12, by implementing learning standards with fidelity, addressing differences in achievement among demographic groups with an end goal of improved educational outcomes and increased graduation rates. Also to provide a learning environment that is welcoming to everyone and ensures all students have access to a well-rounded, culturally responsive education that supports their social and emotional development. And finally, to maximize the use of technology as an instructional tool to enhance and improve educational outcomes in the blended learning environment. A few weeks ago in September, I presented New York State's ESSA plan to the Board of Education. And today the data that I'm presenting are directly related to that plan. And what the state assessments will help us to do is to provide important information about how our students, our schools, and the district in general are performing, to identify where gaps in achievement persist, and to establish a foundation to determine which grades, schools, and groups of students need additional support. And one of the things that we've done last year, we did this in one of our K-3 buildings, based on the data that we received from the state that identified certain gaps. We provided additional an after-school program to support students. We also provided additional professional development to support our teachers. For the 2017-18 school year was a new assessment because it was a two-day assessment. The state moved away from 3 days. So when we are presenting the data, the assessments that were administered are going to be a little bit different from previous assessments. And so the 2018, 19, and 2020 assessments will be very similar because they will be two-day assessments that will be measuring the current standards. And so while I will be showing you data over multiple years, it's really hard to make year-to-year comparisons because this test that was just given in the spring was a little bit different from previous assessments. Next year, this current year, 2019 and upcoming years, we will be able to make a more appropriate year-to-year comparisons in terms of how our students are doing. I want to bring your attention to ESSA in the sense that the 2016-17 school year is the baseline for which the state will be using for accountability measures. And if you remember in that presentation, I told you that the state will be using 7 indicators for accountability. And so those, the 2016-17 year was the baseline year for accountability. And what the state will be doing is they'll be releasing accountability indicators or schools' accountability status coming up in November. And so we're awaiting that information from the state based on the new ESSA requirements. We continue to have some significant challenges as it relates to test participation. While we are seeing some improvements in students taking the assessments, our numbers continue to be exceedingly high. We're seeing incremental improvements. And so one of the challenges that we have is to try to engage and encourage more students to take the assessments, because if more students take the assessments, we believe we will see a more accurate reflection on how our students are doing. I want to bring your attention to 2015, where we had roughly 47% of our students who did not, for example, take the test in grade 3, to 2018, where we see a significant reduction in grade 3 students, where 29% of our students opted out of the ELA exam that was given. And if you go further down to district totals, you'll see that overall district-wide in 2015, we had 66% of our students who did not participate in testing. And then for the ELA in May of this year or earlier this year, we had 56% of our students who did not participate. So we are seeing a trend with more kids opting to participate in the assessments. Another trend that we see, if you see the grade 3 numbers, you'll see that while we have more kids participating in grade 3, as the grades increase, participation decrease. And part of that reasoning is kids are also exerting pressure in terms of participation as well. So as the kids go up to the upper grades, we see that less students are participating in the assessments. And so that's one of the issues that we are wrestling with and we are continuing to work on. Same thing for the math assessments. Again, for grade 3 in 2015, we had roughly 51% of our students who did not take the assessments. In 2018, we had 31%. So again, we saw a 20% decrease in participation. For the math, for overall district, we have in 2015, 72% of our kids who did not participate. And again, we saw 59% who did not take it overall district-wide. And again, you could see the numbers that as the grades go up, participation also decreases or the opt-out rate increases as the grades of the kids get older. So we have, for example, in grade 8, roughly 79 or 80% of our kids did not participate in testing last year. For grade 7, 71% did not participate. For grade 6, 66%. Grade 5, 56%. And for grade 4, 50%. And so again, if we are seeking to have a more accurate reflection of how our students are doing, we would like to have more participation from our students. For the 2018, the results for 2018 English Language Arts assessments, we have, for example, grade 3, we have 24% for kids who performed proficiently. One of the things that we tried to do was to highlight where we saw some increases over the previous year. So you'll see the highlights in green, where we saw some increase in grade 4 from 21 to 31%. We saw a slight increase in grade 6 from 12% to 17%. We also saw an increase in grade 8, even though we had fewer kids taking it from 23 to 25%. So we are seeing, we did see some improvements in student achievement. And if you look diagonally for the orange and the yellow, what that shows is the cohort of students who are moving from one grade. So for example, the students who took the test in grade 3 in 2015, who performed 18%, then in grade 4 in 2016, 21%, and then there were the grade 5 kids in 2017 with 17%. So that gives us a way of tracking cohorts as we move forward in terms of looking at the same group of kids in terms of their performance. For math, again, in 2015, just so we could look for trends or patterns over a 4-year period. We saw that in 2015, we had 29% of grade 3 students proficient in math, and then 2018, we have 27%. The green, again, highlights where we have seen increases. So we are seeing slight increase ticking up with our students. Again, as I said, it's hard to compare this past assessments to previous years. So with 2018 being the first year of the 2-day assessments for grades 3 through 8, it's a benchmark for us to use going forward, for us to now start looking at how our kids are doing from 2018 going forward, because this test will be similar going forward. Also, one of the things that would be interesting for us to see as well is we have implemented a new math program which started last year. And so we're looking to see our results showing improvements with the new math program that we've implemented last year as we go forward. So that will give us good data as we're going forward with the assessments. We also want to look at student groups. As you know, the state has a few accountability groups that we need to be mindful of. And so one of the things that I wanted to do is to look at the different subgroups or the different student groups to see how those students are going. If you look, for example, in grade 4, you can see that we saw significant increases for all subgroups, just about all subgroups in grade 4 for the 2018 testing period for and this is for ELA. And then you look over in grade 5, we have our African American students and Hispanic students, our multiracial and ELL students who have shown some improvements. Our economic disadvantaged students, we've seen some improvements. So the green highlights where we've seen improvement this 2018 period over the previous years. Again, for grades 6, 7, and 8, for language arts, the green highlights where we have seen improvements. So we are seeing, for example, in grade 6, where we had some improvements over the previous year for all students. We also had our general education students in grade 6 having some improvements as well. African American students having some improvements, the white students having some improvements. So again, we are tracking our subgroups to ensure that we are meeting the needs of all our students, and not only looking at the overall performance of our student body, but looking at accountability student groups as we go forward. For math, for grades 3, again, we saw where for each of the different student groups, we're seeing some slight movements in student achievement for the different student groups. The same thing for grade 4, again for math, where we're seeing most of our student groups having some improvements in student achievement, as not huge improvements, but slight improvements moving upward. And so we are hoping to see increases in that as we go forward. The same thing for grade 5 as well. Again, for grades 6, 7, and 8, the green highlights where we've seen slight improvement from the previous year, and I wanted to bring those to your attention. Also, we have the science performance. Again, we are assessing, we assess our students in grades 4 and 8 for science in New York State. 2018, we saw 90% of our 4th graders being proficient. And that's an increase from the previous year of 79%. Again, in grade 8, we have 16% of for students who are proficient. Again, that also links to the issue of participation in grade 8. Also, another issue in grade 8 is we also have some of our students who are in living environments, so they do not take the grades 3 through 8 grade assessments. Those students are taking the regents because they're in living environments. So there are two factors that contribute to the numbers for grade 8 in the sense that low participation, and then we have also a significant amount of students who take living environment, which is a high school course, and they take the regents. For our high school, for the regents, for math, algebra 1, we had 61% proficiency. That score is down from the previous year of 80%. For geometry, we have a 51% proficiency. Again, we saw a decrease from the previous year of 53%. And for algebra 2, we have 81% proficiency, which is an increase over the previous year. For science, living environment, we had a 64% proficiency rate. Again, that's a decrease from the previous year of 81%. For earth science, 72%, which is a slight decrease from the 2 previous years of 75%. For chemistry, we had a 65% proficiency rate. Again, that's a decrease from the previous year of 74%. And for physics, we had a 70% proficiency rate, which is a decrease from the previous year of 83%. ELA regents at the high school, we 72% proficient, a slight decrease from the previous year of 72%. In social studies, we saw, we had for global history and geography, we had a 71% proficiency rate, which is an increase over the 2 previous years. And for US history, we had an 82% proficiency, which is also a pretty stable or a slight increase over the previous year's performance. For world languages, French, 100% pass rate, and for Italian, 89% pass rate, and for Spanish, we had an 81% pass rate. Also looking at our AP courses, Calculus AB, we had a 30% pass rate. For Calculus BC, a 40% pass rate. And for statistics, we had a 59% pass rate. Biology, a 53% pass rate. For chemistry, a 20% pass rate. Environmental, a 37% pass rate. Physics, a 67% pass rate. For AP English, we have a 77% pass rate in literature. And for language and composition, we had a 90% pass rate, which is an increase over the 2 previous years. For the social studies courses, for world history, 89% pass rate, which is pretty stable compared over the last 2 years. For US history, we had a 60% pass rate, which is an increase over the previous year. And for US government and politics, we had a 54% pass rate, which again is an increase over the 2 previous years. And for graduation, in June, we graduated 85% of our cohort students. And then with summer, the August graduation rate, we project that graduation rate to be 90%. It's a projected rate because we haven't received the official word from State End. So we're looking at a projected 90% graduation rate. And you could see the numbers over the last 5 years that we've had a steady increase of our graduation rate since 2013. Having looked at the data, what are some of the things that we're doing to continue to ensure that we're providing our students with the right supports in the classroom, that we are providing our students with the quality instruction that would lead to improvements in student achievement. One of the things that we did last year, we acquired the program last year, it's now being implemented this year, is we acquired instructional resources for our pre-K teachers. One of the things that we sort of observed this year was that there was no set of resources for teachers to use. And so therefore that opened up the opportunity for different kids to get different things based on who their teachers were. And so we believe that if we support them with consistent and common resources and provide our teachers with the appropriate professional development, then we can begin to start laying a more solid foundation in terms of the instructional opportunities that are being provided to our students. So this year we have the big K, pre-K instructional resources that our teachers are using. We've also acquired a screener for our teachers to use that they will use to screen our students 3 times a year. So we are gathering some developmentally appropriate data on our students in pre-K. And so that will be administered in the fall, the winter, and the spring. Okay, another thing that we're doing is we are now consistently doing walkthroughs in our pre-K classrooms to collect data, to see how our kids are doing and to see how the programs are being implemented, because that's one of the requirements that the state has also asked us to do in terms of when they ask us to do reports on how we are implementing our pre-K program. So we have 3 official walkthroughs that we do. Last year we did it, and we scheduled to do it again this year, just to collect data to see how things are going in the classrooms and to get feedback from the teachers, to use that to inform our programs. We're providing our teachers with professional development. They got professional development over the summer during Superintendent's Conference Day, and we have PD opportunities that are scheduled throughout the year to support them with the implementation and the use of the new programs that we provided them. As I said to you, Math in Focus, grades K through 6, K through 5, the program was implemented last year. We are implementing it in grade 6 this year. And integral to that implementation is a robust professional development program to support our teachers. It's not only useful to provide our teachers with the resources, but it's also very important that we supply them with the support through PD opportunities to help them to use those resources effectively. And so last year we did that, and we're doing that again this year to help to make sure that there's consistency with the instructional program that is being implemented in grades K through 6. For Teachers College, for Language Arts and Literacy, this year we've started a new partnership with Teachers College, and we started with them coming out each building in grades K through 6. We'll be having 5 days of in-house professional development with Teachers College. So far, I think all the buildings except Kramer has had 1 already, with additional opportunities coming this year. Each one is scheduled to have 5. And so because we believe that the best and most effective form of professional development is when it's happening in the classroom, someone working with their teachers as they're working with children. We are providing that at significant cost to support our teachers, with the hope that as we continue to do that, we will see improvements in student achievement. We've also acquired, through a committee last year, new K through 8 social studies resources. It's an online resources that a committee of teachers reviewed. And also, so that program is being implemented this year. It's online subscription that gives the teachers resources to use. And those resources are tied to the grade level standards, so that our teachers are teaching the standards and they're being given opportunities to use resources that support the instruction at those standards. And so that is being implemented this year. We've provided 2 professional development to teachers to use those resources so far this year. One of the things that we're doing is taking a very careful look at our science curriculum grades K through 8. And so we've just formed a committee to look at what resources are out there and what resources we need to bring in to support our students. We believe that we want to give our students the opportunity to not just learn science, but to do science. And so we want to give them more hands-on opportunities, especially in the elementary grades, as they're, for them to build that interest in science. So that committee will start its work this year to look at a series of products and resources that are out there, and then to make a decision about which resources that we think would be appropriate to support our students in grades K through 8. We're also looking at what's going on after we've done that from at the secondary level from 9 through 12. And we're going to do the same thing for math as well to ensure that we have consistency in terms of the resources that are being provided. For professional development at our dual language magnet school. So we, as you know, that Brookhaven is now the new dual language program for the district. And so one of the things that Dr. Raymond and us, we've spoken about providing targeted professional development to the dual language teachers to ensure the success of that program. So we are also working on that with those teachers. And we're providing professional development for all our teachers, grades K through 12, in supporting second language learners to ensure that as our student body become more diverse, and we are seeing that our second language learners are becoming a bigger percentage of our population, that we're providing our teachers with the resources and the support to appropriately meet their needs. And so this year we have professional development opportunities for all students, for all teachers, grades K through 12, on how to support second language learners in their classroom. As I said to you before, last year we had an extended learning program at CRITS for grades K, for grades 3 students. This year we're proposing expanding the program to all 3 primary buildings, CRITS, Brookhaven, and Kramer, for second and third graders after school to provide additional support in reading and math after school. And that program we anticipate will start in January. And so that's another way of using data to provide additional support to students that have been identified through our data for needing additional support. In grade 6, we'll be providing an after-school program through the Empire Grant, and that will be starting, we anticipate, in January as well. Again, that program will also have homework help, and so we'll be doing that at the middle school. For some of our classes at the secondary level, we are having integrated co-taught classes in all core classes. So to support our second language learners, to ensure that we have 2 teachers in those classrooms where we have a certain percentage of students who are ELL students, so that the students are getting that support in core content areas from 2 teachers. And so this year, we started that at the middle school. It was already in existence at the high school, and we're hoping to see, again, with the additional support, improvements in how our students are doing. These are things that are continuous, they're ongoing. One of the things that we want to make sure that we're having is we're continuously looking at our curriculum grades K through 12. What we are trying to do is to ensure that our students are not getting a disjointed education, that where our students go, with which teachers they are assigned, will not determine the quality of the education they get or what they're exposed to. So we want to have a clearly articulated curriculum in grades K through 12. And so our directors are constantly looking at the curriculum and what resources that needs to be provided to align instruction with the curriculum for each grade level. And that's an ongoing process. Our professional development opportunities is also ongoing to strengthen the capacity of our teachers to deliver and implement the new resources that we provided them. And so that will be a constant in terms of how we support our teachers with professional development opportunities. And again, to provide not just global professional development, but to provide professional development related to the content that teachers are teaching. And so that is a continuous, ongoing piece of the work that we're doing. And also to give our students opportunities to access a rigorous high school coursework. You will hear more from that from the presentation that's coming up about AP Capstone, and also about the work that we're doing at the middle school with project-based or problem-based learning. And to also give our students opportunities to demonstrate proficiency by using multiple measures. We know that not all children are paper and pencil good test takers, so we want to give students opportunities to show their proficiency through different modes. And so the presentation you will get about AP Capstone and the work we're doing at the middle school with problem-based learning will give some of our students the opportunities to demonstrate proficiency through different modes. So we can also have assessment data, not just through paper and pencil, but also through students doing projects, doing research, doing presentations to show the mastery of the content that is being provided. And that is what I have for you.
Well, thank you very much.
Questions?
Who would like to begin?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Cheney.
Anybody else? My question on the refusal numbers, I've tracked this, each year, and they seem to tell a story, and I want to see if you see it the same way. But my first question is, how do our refusal numbers measure up to like size and districts of similar demographics? How do they measure up to Long Island totals, and how do they measure up to state totals? I know you probably don't have all of that, but is your impression that we're somewhat, comparative to like districts?
That's a very tricky question.
I know it, and I understand that there are certain hotbeds that you have to avoid, right?
I will be honest with you. I
Please.
believe that, and I think the data bears it out, that Long Island is the epicenter of the opt-out movement.
That's not even debatable.
Right. And I believe if Long Island is the epicenter of the opt-out movement, Eastern Long Island, I think you see most of it in the geographic area where we are. And so,
Sure.
if you look at similar districts around here, the numbers that we have are pretty similar to those districts.
Sure. So what I've always believed, and the numbers seem to bear this out, although there's some anomalies in there, that the lowest percentage of opt-outs are in the younger grades.
Yes.
And it looks like where the movement started, those kids are starting to age out of testing.
Yes.
Are we seeing that island-wide?
I don't know about other districts and schools' data, if that's what is happening. And also there are multiple factors too. I think part of the one factor for grade 3 also is that those kids have never been tested before.
Sure.
So they are not going in and saying to mom and dad, I don't want to take the test. It's as the kids get older and they've had the experience of not taking the test, then they'll verbalize to parents that they don't want to do it.
Sure.
Whereas some grade 3 kids will say, I want to take a test because they've never done it. And we had a few examples of that last year where kids wanted to take the test and parents would call and say, we'd say the kid want to take a test, can you allow them? And they would allow them to do so.
Mm-hmm.
So I think as the kids get older and they develop their voice and they can articulate what they want to do, they also put some pressure on parents also not to participate in testing.
So then, would you say, based on that statement, that your guess is that these numbers won't fluctuate much? Because as kids get older, they'll have influence over with their parents or whether they take the test.
I think as long as we have the debate where we have a significant population of parents who don't want kids to be in testing, that's something that we have to wrestle with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as a district, we will sooner or later have to start having those discussions about our beliefs around testing. What's the purpose of testing? Testing, and so we have to have those discussions because it's not just the children, but parents are also part of it. We also have to talk to our teachers about our views around testing. The fact that I personally will say over and over, don't believe testing should be used to evaluate teachers. And so if we're looking at it from a data gathering exercise so that we can use that data to support students. Because if you look at our Algebra 1 data, where for many students, that's the first time that they've ever taken a standardized test. And that's why you will see that we have such a high failure rate. So you have children who are going through the system who have never taken a formalized standardized test in the elementary grades or the middle school. If you look at the opt-out rate, for example, at 8th grade, we have 80% of the kids not taking the test.
Mm-hmm.
And then those same kids go up to the high school, and that's the first time they've ever been given a formal test And that's why we have
Mr.
the
Santo
numbers.
brings that point
I
up
wish
a
I
number
had
of
a
times.
dollar for every
Yeah,
time
for every
I
time
said
you said that. So, and understanding that, so I guess, okay, so you pretty much answered what I thought and appreciated. The only other question I have is, for clarification, on the results.
Mhm.
The number of students proficient,
Mhm.
the percentage, is only on who took the test. It does not
Yes.
factor in
Yes,
any
that's
of
why I
the
said
opt-out.
that, I
So,
started by saying that.
which I knew that, I just wanna make sure
The
that
data
was
we
clear.
have is not a true reflection of our students' abilities because we have such, so few students who are taking the test. And so I think it could easily be argued that our most capable students are not taking the test. And we also know that part of testing is that, part of the testing process is practice with taking tests, right? How do you manage your time? How do you persevere when you come to difficult questions? And so while we know that there is some ambivalence towards testing, you know, we have to give our kids opportunities to be in testing conditions so they know how to persevere, so they know how to problem solve. So when they're put in those real situations, they can do it. And unfortunately, most of them are getting that when they get to the high school, and that's why we see some of the results that we see.
Sure. Last piece. On the demographics, the results by demographics, I'm a little bit confused by the graph. And so if we look at the first one, for example, all students grade 3 total tested for ELA was 217. And then underneath that, you list all of the demographics are listed. General education, what is SWD?
Students with disabilities.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Everything broken down there.
Yes.
Those numbers are all linked back up to the total? Those are all out of that total number taken the
Yes,
test?
but you have to also remember that that percentage is based on the number of kids in that student group.
Sure, so I guess this is where I'm confused. So, of the 217 students that took the test, we're on different slides,
Which
but
one are you on?
go to ELA,
Okay.
which I think is up one,
Okay.
and you have, right there, okay. 217 total students took the test, the ELA test in grade 3,
Yes.
okay? What does that 190 general education students represent?
Because that 190 are kids who do not have an IEP.
Gotcha, but are
Janet,
but are you
that's
saying
WD.
190 kids out of the 217?
Yes.
Okay, so
27.
obviously one kid fills multiple buckets because now you have, but you're also saying that out of the 217, 156 of them were economically disadvantaged?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm understanding the numbers, okay. And at that, okay, so obviously general education and one student can
Yes.
hit a couple of
A
these
kid could be
buckets.
in multiple boxes.
That's what I want to
boxes,
understand,
right?
okay.
A kid
I was trying to
could-
total it back up and it confused, so,
Yes.
okay, thank you, that's all I have.
Yes.
Mr. Santo?
Okay, so these, what did you consider passing for AP in order to get the statistic?
Levels 3, 4, and 5.
Okay. And then you mentioned for grade 6, the grant was doing homework help.
We have a grant through the ELC, and so they are the recipient of the grant, but we will be partnering with them. And they will be having an after-school program at the middle school. Part of that program will include after-school support. So there will be multiple things being done, but
Is
part of it is to also support kids with
Is that
homework
going to
help.
be targeted to identified students who are struggling in certain things, or just going to be a?
So the program's optional,
Yes.
and it begins with the support. So whether it's targeted for the needs, absolutely. But everyone will begin with the homework help and the support piece, and then it moves to enrichment. But again, remember, the program is free, but it's optional.
Is that the same program that's giving us extra money for intramurals and
Yes,
after-school
that's,
things?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I just want to make sure
yeah.
I have the same.
That's the 200 sixth grades targeted and 100 seventh and eighth grades, yes.
Right, I'm just still seeking clarification here. It's optional, but will there be a letter going home to parents saying, you know,
Oh, absolutely.
Johnny could use some help in math, and here's this extra.
We'll have to, listen, I have to talk to EEOC, but that's absolutely no problem. And I know there is going to be a lot of communication between our staff and their staff. In fact, our staff's going to be reached out first to work in the program. They're setting up shop in the building. They're actually be an overlap between the regular school day and the after-school day, so they can have those communications with teachers.
All right, great, because we all know those of us who teach secondary or have children in the secondary level, a lot gets lost in the translation, and direct communication with parents is definitely a positive. We can make the most
Yes.
of the opportunity that's available there. My other comments, in light of the fact that we continue to see many students opting out, and what I've been warning all along, unfortunately, is very apparent in the algebra results, where we only had 61% passing. Same thing with living environment, only 64% passing. But we do put down that we project our graduation rates to increase. How are those two things going to come together? And also, just for clarification, when we have our Regents results, was that only for June Regents, or was it all of 2018? Because we know we get a couple of people through in August.
I
You know what
don't
those
know if it's
percentages
June or
were?
I think it's the June results.
Okay.
June, just June.
All right, so if we can also just get the information, maybe if we get a few more percentage points, and maybe feel a little better about it. But seriously,
Yes.
I mean, that's something where we're projecting a greater graduation rate, but those are two required regions. So, to me, that looks like those numbers are in jeopardy then. How,
I'd like to see
Well,
January, June, and August. I'd
Yeah.
like to see all three broken out,
Okay.
not just the June
Okay.
exam. Because we do know that some can then attain graduation through retaking that exam at a different time.
Yeah.
So if we could see that,
I'll
maybe
get
that'll
that
make
information. I'll
us
get the information.
feel a little bit.
sleep a little better at some point. All right, and my other question, this is a statement, a comment. I'm thrilled that we are instituting programs in pre-K. Very happy that we're doing the walkthroughs. We definitely need to make sure that no matter what building our pre-K students attend, that they're all getting the same enriching curriculum. But it's not going to help if their bodies aren't in the seat.
Yes.
So, two things. Number one, I'll still talk about, we need preschool transportation. And number two, several years ago, we had an all-out push to increase pre-K enrollment. And we got there, and then we didn't quite do that all-out push, and our enrollment numbers are down again. So our students are not going to benefit from the program if they're not present in it. So I really hope that we will do an all-out push this spring to get as many students into that program, because it's sorely needed. We all know
Yes.
early intervention really is the key, because otherwise we're remediating for the next 12 years.
Yes.
Yes, Ms. Manley.
And to that piece where Mr. Santos talking about having the bodies in the seat, as important as that is in pre-K, we do continue to see attendance numbers that are quite alarming to our secondary level. So at some point, would like to see the plan for how we fix, because we talked in
Yes.
two presentations ago.
Yes, sir.
We talked about what the implications
Yes.
for attendance are. So what are our goals and strategies? Because I'm seeing all of the educational goals and strategies here. But I'd like to see what we intend to do to try and increase the attendance rates. Whether it be just class by class, or what, how we plan to attack this issue. And it's systemic, it's not just
Yes.
here at South Country.
No, I think one of the things, before you go further, is when we did the ESSA presentation, one of the things, I did the same presentation to the district administrators that I did for the Board of Education, is we have to start paying careful attention to every piece of data that relates to how kids are doing in our district. And if the kid's not, then if they're not here, they're not learning. And so one of the things as far as attendance is concerned is to monitor students' attendance on a regular basis and to engage with parents about, and we talked about a piece about parent engagement, about engaging with parents about why their kids are not in school and what can we do to get the children back in school. And so having our social workers being a part of that conversation and reaching out to parents and whatever roadblocks or impediments that are in the way that are preventing kids from getting in the building, we need to provide that support to ensure that they're there. And we have to do it on a regular basis. We can't wait until the end of the year to say, oh, our attendance rate was 85%. That's not good enough. We have to monitor that as we go through the course of the year so that we could take corrective steps as we're going through the course of the year. And so that discussion, we've had those discussions with our building leadership, and we'll continue to have those discussions as we go forward.
Right, and they're absolutely vital, because we all know in education that attendance is half of the
Yes.
battle. Once you've got them in the room to educate them,
Yes.
then we can do our jobs much more effectively than if they're
Yes, if
not
you
there.
miss school, you're missing out. So we have to
Absolutely.
make sure we get them in the building.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Just in regards to proficiency, I know we talked about just the students opting out and even just students enrolled in the certain regions classes and whatnot, but is there something to say for the drop from 4th to 8th grade in science proficiency? And then in regards to grade 8 science as a whole, in 2016, 2017, you have 24%, and it just drops to 16%. Is there something to say?
No, and as I said to you, there are multiple factors that contributes to the low proficiency rate. Part of it is participation. Part of it is that we see a big decline in terms of the amount of kids who are taking the test in grade 8. We also have in grade 8, the kids who are also in honors were taking the high school courses. And so those kids take the regents. So we'll see, that's one of the things about testing where once you get up to the high school, there's no opting out of testing. You have to take the regents, right? So you see the kids who are in the middle school who are in honors program, they take, Algebra 1 regents, they take the living environment regents, right? Because parents see the value of those because it ties toward graduation. And so one of the discussions that we'll start having as we are going through this process is start engaging with our parents about open, honest dialogue about the importance of our kids taking the assessments so that we can have good data to guide their instruction as we're going forward. One of the reasons also that we're looking at is to look at the science programs that we have, to give kids more hands-on learning experiences that also encourages kids to I think if you, part of the science assessments in grades 4 and 8 is that there's a hands-on portion to it, where the kids are taking an assessment but they don't think it's an assessment because they think they're having fun, right? So there's a paper and pencil piece and a hands-on piece, the performance piece, and kids love doing that. And so you'll see more kids in grade 4 opt to do that because they want to do that hands-on portion. So it's all, there are multiple factors, but I would believe those two are part of it.
Okay, thank you.
And Dr. Griffin.
Question about kind of using the science example. You said participation rates are down in the science exam. What is the participation rate for the 8th grade science?
I don't have that off the top of my head, but I can get that for you.
Okay, yeah, because that's part of the whole discussion. I think it's really important to know that.
Yes.
Because if you're saying most of your higher achieving kids are opting out, and then they're taking the living environment exam when they get to that, what I'm trying to get to is what I think I saw was that the living environment exam will count or should count towards the 8th grade exam.
For this year.
So the scores we're seeing right now, there's a precipitous drop because you're having the kids that would be your high achieving kids, instead of taking this 8th grade test, they're taking the living environment exam. The question, if you look at the science exam, you had 83%, 81%, and then it drops to 64%. Now, if the 8th grade cohort, the 2018 cohort was the first group to opt out, then that would make sense to say there's a drop. but I know the 2017 numbers and the 2016 kids. There was a substantial number of kids that opted out of those tests as well. So that idea, I'd like to see the data
Okay.
to
I'll
confirm
get you
that.
information about.
Because it doesn't make sense to me, because it would make sense if it's the first group ever to opt out, that the drop is there, then, oh yeah, wow, look at the impact it had on their test taking. That's not the case. So, but the thing I want to know is the 8th grade science exam with 16%, there's a drop there. And it concerns me, because that's a very low number for a test that I would like to know the participation rate, which I think way more people take that, or way more students take that than the ELA or the math. It's a standard test, it's a test that's been around forever, it's a test that most parents respect, because it's something that's been around. So I would need to see that data. So another thing is about the Algebra 1. You've got a huge decline, and I'm wondering, did that decline occur with other districts? Was it a different, more difficult algebra exam that year to compare our scores with other schools in similar demographics? Because sometimes that happens. You get other things that happen besides just kids opting out. And then on the positive side, I'm looking at the AP exams, and I'm seeing the social studies, world history. Got phenomenal numbers there, 89, 91, 80, even at just getting 3s, 4s, and 5s.
There's a reason for that.
And that's what I mean. Like, if we can look at what's going on well there, in addition to, it's kind of hard to gauge the numbers, because if I don't know how many kids took it, because if I only have 4 kids taking the physics regions and all 4 of those brilliant kids passed and we got 100%, it looks awesome.
Yes.
We need to know how many kids have taken it. So I want more data here. Not that we didn't get enough, we got a ton, but in terms of being able to really...
I'll get you the AP numbers as well.
Yeah, like how many kids are taking, what's the percentage of our kids that are taking these AP courses, so we get real information so we can compare and know where we're headed. And then I think of, like, even looking at US history increasing, US government and politics increasing tremendously, doubling, more than doubling. There's something good happening there, and the same thing with the AP English. There was a little dip with 2017 for the literature, but then the AP Comp's up to 90. And I think one of the things that we do is we're always looking to kind of, what are you doing wrong? Some of our teachers are doing some great stuff in their classroom. So I really would like to see and praise those teachers that are doing those great things. And we talk about professional development coming from without. We've got experts in our buildings. We've got great teachers doing great things. What are they doing? Instead of looking for some expert who just sold a book to come in and tell us what's going on, let's celebrate some of these great teachers and get them to share what's going on, because there are experts in our buildings and they're doing great things. So I always feel like this, the numbers. And the numbers kind of do that. And with one of the things we know, we talk about our board of priorities, having our outside match our inside. We know we have great teachers. We know we have amazing students. And as a matter of fact, if you look at like some of the rate my schools things, like Brookhaven Elementary does not have a good number, but it is one of the best schools I've ever been in, and it's a result of great people. So I just don't want us to leave with these numbers reflecting who we think we are or what other people think we are. We're not. There's so much great stuff happening. So although I know the need to use the data and to improve, let's always improve. And even if we had 99 and everything, let's improve. But to take these numbers as a defeat, I don't think that's really the, and I don't think it's your intention. I know it's not.
Listen, I said from the get-go that I don't believe these numbers accurately reflect what our kids know and can do. And so I preface my presentation with that.
Right.
So I don't believe that the numbers are the full story. It's just one piece of that story.
Exactly.
And it gives us something to look at and to delve into, have discussions around, and like we're doing right now. So the numbers are not, we are not the numbers, they're not who we are. But it's just a piece of what that's out there that gives us a foundation to having discussions about what are we doing well and what we're not doing well and what we can do differently. But it's not who we are, and that's why I prefaced my presentation by saying that it's not a reflection of what our kids do.
And I appreciate that, because it is the truth.
Yes.
And also that we can't compare
Yes.
New York State keeps changing the test.
That's why I'm not.
For the last
yes.
15 years, it's been a
I
different
think
test.
what,
So
like,
we
for
can't,
example-
so to have that timeline, it's favored people that would do tests no matter whether there was any test preparation. So I guess kind of to wrap this up, I think if we're looking at like the long-term goals for ESSA and things like that, I like the way we're moving. We're thinking about project-based learning. We're thinking about doing things in-house and supporting our teachers. Because you said it well just before, I don't think test scores should measure a teacher's success in the classroom. Totally true. But along with that, we also have to have the support and the resources to make sure our teachers that are doing really well in their classroom, and there are amazing teachers. That, I think, is the message. How can we get more of that success spilling over? And there was another question I guess I got off. AP. The AP meaning 3 or higher. In terms of credit for ESSA, is it the 3 gets us credit?
Yes.
3 is the number
Yes.
that students get credit? Okay. And also, I'm very happy about the resources coming for pre-K and for the PD stuff, because I think that's another wonderful thing that we're doing, especially moving to have the pre-K center and all the rest of that good stuff. So thank you for your presentation, Mrs. Stewart.
I just want to thank Dr. Griffin for articulating so well, I think, how the board feels exactly about our teachers in the school. And you're so right. We don't look at these numbers as a reflection on how well they're doing or not. So for the takeaways from the presentation, and thank you very much for the comprehensive presentation. We're talking about first early intervention, project-based learning, supporting and celebrating those teachers that are doing well, and repeating more of that, and then they provide professional development piece.
Yes.
Is there anything else? Good, you got it? Okay. Well, thank you very much again.
Thank you.
All right.
Now, you're fantastic.
It's a busy night with presentations. I also want to thank our administrators that are in the audience today, and I pretty much, yeah. I know it's hard to be everywhere and be at all these meetings, but with presentations like this, it's nice for you to hear how the board feels, and you can share that with your teachers in your school, because we are here to support you. Now,
Okay,
for
so
our
our next item for discussion is a presentation recently provided to the board's Teaching and Learning Advisory Committee. The presentation is on 9th grade humanities as well as AP capstones. We have a number of individuals here this evening that will join in making the presentation. And we are going to start off with Mr. Hogan, I think. Is that correct, Mr. Hogan?
Yes, we just are making sure.
Okay.
Presentation.
Hopefully the presentation's there.
No, the most updated. So thank you. While Mr. Burke is helping us get up the most up-to-date presentation, I do want to thank you for inviting us to come tonight. I'm going to be presenting with Mr. Hayden, Mr. Burke, who's working on the computer right there, and also Ms. O'Hagan. I should also note that John Bishop, one of our high school teachers in the social studies department, was part of the presentation and the development of this initiative, but is unable to join us tonight. So just a little bit, a little bit of background information. Tonight's presentation is to introduce the idea of adopting an AP capstone course at Belport High School in the future. This course not only ties directly to our humanities program, but also our STEM curriculum in both science and math. In addition, AP capstone promotes many of the essential foundational skills necessary for students to increase their success in other AP courses that they may challenge throughout their high school career. But first, I'd like to start by just providing some background information and some of the successes we are seeing in our humanities program this year, specifically in humanities grade 9 in our 9th grade program, and then how AP capstone can support those students looking to pursue coursework at the AP level as they move throughout high school. So the first slide you see here just speaks to what we are currently doing in humanities, again specific to grade 9. This is the first year that we have eliminated our honors classes in humanities at the 9th grade level, with the exception of a pre-AP World course. We currently have 45 students enrolled in 9th grade in that pre-AP World course, and that encompasses two sections. So this model that we are mirroring actually is the same model that is in existence at the middle school. There is no honors in humanities at the middle school. There is honors in living environment and algebra, as you know, in STEM in 8th grade, and we also have honors program in our STEM program as well. The primary purpose of the change for this year and moving forward was to provide a more inclusive classroom environment, one where all students are afforded the same opportunities to experience rigorous coursework. And just a quick point of information, with our new transition exam in global history, the global history exam is specific to grade 10 curriculum. It does not any longer combine grade 9 and 10. All right, so talking about some of the professional development and program monitoring that we are doing in that program and in those courses. Over the last couple of years, our teachers have had significant training in differentiated instruction, in student collaboration, and instructional technology, specifically Google Classroom. You probably remember we rolled out our Google Classroom initiative last year. Chromebooks came to us about this time of year. End of October, beginning of November, and a lot of our PD throughout the rest of the year was focused on Google Classroom. Just the first superintendent's conference day we had in August, establishing a classroom culture of differentiation engagement for all students, with the presenter Carol Barcelona, was specific to all of our humanities teachers at both Belport Middle School and Belport High School. We have created, with Ms. O'Hagan's leadership, a humanities PLC, which includes teachers in general education, E&L, and special education teachers. And they had another training just this past week with Carol Barcelona. And they will serve to turnkey a lot of the strategies and initiatives that back to the department members throughout the course of the year. Because this is a new model for us, the building administration has pushed in frequently to all of the humanities classes in grade 9. Our district administration has done some of that as well, and we are getting feedback from teachers and also from our students. So we're looking at the classroom environment, we're looking at content rigor, and we're looking at examples of increased student collaboration. And then, as I just mentioned, we're continually seeking feedback from all those teachers that are in those specific programs and talking to us about what their experience is in that instructional setting. So elements of maintaining rigor, the learning environment, the climate, student participation, student engagement, and so on. And this slide is specific to some of the feedback. These bullet points are feedback that have come directly from our 9th grade humanities, some of our 9th grade humanities teachers. But it is safe to say that everyone participating has been overwhelmingly positive with the implementation of this new model for the year. So some of the feedback includes teachers are seeing increased student motivation. Students seem to be putting more effort, they seem to be more engaged, and there's some evidence there about increased homework assignments being turned in as compared to what was the norm in the past. Again, the focus is to have higher expectations and rigor for all of our students. Going back to the comment I made earlier about differentiation, our materials and assessments are differentiated consistently and certainly where appropriate. Social skills and growth. Some of our lower level academic students are benefiting from positive peer role models in the classroom. And our high achieving students are gaining confidence in the work and successes that they're having, and also the reward of guiding and helping their peers when it's appropriate. And this is providing a more accurate account of what our students are actually capable of. And in terms of the structure of the classroom and the makeup of the classroom, it's not a specific 50-50 ratio, but there is a good mix of boys and girls. In the past, our honors program, which was probably about 100 students in the 9th grade, was about 2/3 female. So the classes are more representative of our school culture.
So we are so excited about our PD initiatives this year in humanities. So if you see, Carol Barcelona created this for us, and we really want our students to develop in 21st century learning. So we want our students to be lifelong readers and writers. We want them to think critically. We want them to engage in teamwork, to problem solve, to really wonder and take risks in the classroom. And our teachers are doing such a great job with this and really discussing ways that we can develop our students to be 21st century learners. This is our Belport High School teachers that are famous now on Twitter. So Mr. Nix, we assure you we're building that social media movement. Carol Barcelona, actually, our ELA consultant, created this flyer, and these are our teachers being showcased. And Carol Barcelona does many Twitter chats on Twitter, so it's a great way for professional learning. And it's been so amazing to see some of our teachers on Twitter really engaging in professional learning. We have our, hashtag South Country Source. So it's just been great to see them getting on Twitter and just branding our school and branding our district and showcasing all the amazing things that we're doing here. To the left, you will see our teachers talking about how can we share literacy? How can we all be experts of literacy? Not only in ELA, but in every single subject. And that's really transferring, and it was great to see our teachers really share their expertise on how we can all share the responsibility of literacy and hearing their ideas in turn came to other teachers. To the right, you will see an English language arts classroom in Miss Vera Thompson's class. We are so appreciative of having the opportunity to use our Chromebooks. Our students are engaging in digital tools in this picture, and they're differentiating instruction. They're using actual interactive digital notebooks. So they're actually engaging in various forms of writing and blogging. This is a social studies classroom where they're using Nearpod, which is another great tool for interactive slideshows and live assessments for the teachers. Our kids are able to go on virtual field trips. So it's another great form of differentiated instruction in the classroom using technology, and it really aligns well with the board education priorities to maximize technology.
Thank you. Okay, so that was an introduction from Mr. Hogan and Ms. O'Hagan, a little bit about the humanities program this year. But one of the purposes of this evening is for us to talk to you all a little bit about AP Capstone, okay, which is something we're really excited about, and we hope may be able to benefit our students here in South Country in the very near future. So the AP Capstone program is an advanced program that is designed by College Board. I'm sure many of you are familiar with College Board. It's the same organization that oversees the SAT, the PSAT, as well as AP curriculum. So it's an advanced program, it's by the College Board, and it's to develop students in 21st century learning. The program is aligned to New York State learning standards, which is also quite beneficial. Some of you may already know that College Board works very, very closely with New York State. So we're fortunate in New York that the learning standards and the curriculum that's designed for every AP course is closely aligned, and we're grateful for that. The program consists of 2 courses. So the AP Capstone program, which we'll talk about in much more detail in the next few slides, consists of 2 courses, a seminar course and a research course, which we'll tell you a little bit about tonight. And students complete team and individual projects and research as well as an AP exam, so over the course of those 2 years. As students complete the program, they are developing skills that will help them become successful even in other AP courses and AP exams, which is fairly profound when you think about it. One of the components of this program is to help prepare students to be successful in the other AP courses and the other rigorous coursework that they participate in over the course of their high school career. And then finally, we believe that the AP Capstone program can provide a great benefit to Belleport high school students, and we're looking to explore the program further, hopefully with the support of the board. So this is a very short little video that will give us a little more additional insight into the AP Capstone and the benefits of the program directly from some of the educators and students that have been part of it in the past.
I tell you why I'm so excited about AP Capstone. It develops kids' capacity to dig deeply into something and do excellent work in that area.
When teachers and students look at a topic with great care, they develop the sort of skills of analyzing and crafting arguments that then they can apply in a variety of other courses.
I think it offers a chance for students to follow what they love and what they learn. There are 2 core groups at the heart of the development of AP Capstone: high school teachers and college faculty.
More than 50 universities from across the country have shared their faculty with us to help develop this program.
As a 2-year program, it finally gives AP the flexibility to allow kids to follow their love, to deepen their love and ownership of the topic, and research it deeply.
They participate in a team project, they participate in developing and presenting their work to their peers, and then they participate in a written exam as well at the end of the year.
Their ability to adapt and use that level of thinking to better themselves and better their world is awesome. I feel this course transcends just college readiness.
This is the class that lets them say, you know, there is stuff for me. There is something for me to be curious about.
And that's what AP Capstone does, allowing kids to own their learning, to make productive choices, and in that way learn what it is to excel in any endeavor they pursue.
The power to change a couple of kids or a class of kids. This does have the power to transform a school and a school culture.
Why can't we have kids doing great projects to build ideas and that be honored with credit and advanced placement? Isn't that what college and career success is all about? To find something you love, do your best work, and find something that you can own.
Technical
I can tell you why I'm so excited about AP Capstone. It develops kids' capacity to dig deeply into something and
Okay, there we go.
Right.
Suspense. All right. Sorry about that. So we're going to talk a little bit about the program over the next few slides and why it's so meaningful. But in the video you saw a brief clip of a graphic that looked quite similar to this one. And the AP Capstone, it's a program, so it's not just a course. It's not just 2 courses, it's a sequence of 2 courses that is meant to build skills. And it's intended to end with a credential, okay? It's not a New York State graduation credential, but it is a very significant honor to be able to achieve. And that comes in two different forms, okay? And we're going to talk a little bit about that, but it comes in the AP Capstone Diploma and the AP Seminar and Research Certificate. And there's different ways that a student can access either of those two honors, and that is something that we'll discuss.
So when we started to research AP Seminar and kind of talk to other school districts and go to an AP collegial circle in Nassau County, we really found AP Seminar to be very appealing. And we found to be so appealing because our students can now develop and further their analytic and inquiry skills. In addition, explore interdisciplinary themes based on student interests. The power of student choice is so powerful. So that's why we found it so appealing that they have that power of choice, what to explore. In addition, learn to look at issues through multiple lenses and multiple perspectives and coming up with their own argument. And to cultivate abilities to craft, communicate, and defend this evidence-based argument. And that really lends itself to all the work that we're doing with Teachers College and Reading and Writing Workshop, in addition, problem-based learning. As Mr. Small said in the prior presentation, we want to be able to assess our kids through multiple measures. And Seminar gives us that opportunity. So students are not only assessed by one traditional paper, pen exam at the end. They're assessed by a team project, presentation, individual research-based essay and presentation, and then end of course exam. So it's one comprehensive score.
So the second course in the sequence of the structure of the AP Capstone program is the AP Research course. And the thing that's exciting about the AP Research course is that the students take the skills that they have learned in the seminar course, where they've done team projects and individual projects there. They are, part of what they're doing in the seminar course is developing their thoughts and ideas around that topic of interest. And so when they get into the research course, that's their opportunity to deeply dig into that topic of interest that they have. And they're building on the skills that they learned in the seminar course to become independent researchers. In the work that the students do, they're designing a plan, they're doing a year-long research-based investigation for a research question. One of the things I want to say about that is the type of work that a person who would be in a doctoral program does is very much mirrored with the work that the students do in the research course, because they are learning in the research course about different methodologies. They're learning about the quantitative methodology, they're learning about qualitative methodology, and they're learning about ethical research practices, which is very much what happens in an actual doctoral program. So students who participate in that research course are being set up very well so that when they would go on to college, they might have an opportunity later to even get into a doctoral program, and that kind of research that they've done, that they do in that doctoral program, they've seen similar things during their high school experience, so that we know that it's setting the students up for big things in their potential futures. The research course furthers those skills from the seminar course and synthesizes information about that research question. The way that the research course is assessed, the students are developing a portfolio of their work throughout that year. And the final part of the process is this academic paper. It's a 4,000 to 5,000 word paper. They do a presentation on their research and they have an oral defense, much like a doctoral program would do as well.
So recently, we've all learned quite a lot about ESSA, the Every Student Succeeds Act. And there are 7 different components in which a district will be examined and engaged. And one of them is the college and career civic readiness component. AP Capstone would help support our path to doing quite well in this component. AP Capstone provides 2 different opportunities. So there's index points, as I know Mr. Small has reviewed in the past, but there are index points that can be earned. The The greatest index point that a single student can earn that helps support the district is 2 points. So if a student enrolls in AP Capstone and they get a 3 or higher on the AP exam, so on that assessment, they automatically now receive the 2 index points, the highest point allotment given, which is obviously of great benefit to our students, benefit to our district. Additionally, even if they don't, so let's say that they come up short or they end up not taking the exam for one reason or the other way that you can get the second highest point allotment, which is 1.5 point index points, is by completing an AP course. This would add 2 additional AP courses to our portfolio of already rigorous course offerings. And this would give our students 2 additional opportunities to achieve 1.5 index points. So near and dear to my heart, AP Capstone, it provides some remarkable opportunities for students. It's writing based. There's the oral defense. There's understanding how to conduct authentic research at the high school level, and as you start to talk to professors and deans and vice presidents of colleges and institutions, which I've been fortunate and had the opportunity to do from time to time, what they tell you is when they meet students, not South Country students necessarily, but students in general, sometimes they oftentimes lack the writing skills and research abilities that they're looking for students that are going to be truly successful in their institution. This help fills those voids for our students, okay? And near and dear to my heart is the college and career readiness. It's preparing our students to be successful in the college application process. It's helping them get accepted to competitive colleges, helping them be successful in those competitive colleges. So some examples of standing out in college admission with AP Capstone is it helps them develop key skills that they'll use in college and beyond, becoming self-confident, independent thinkers and problem solvers. College applications and essays will likely demonstrate the students' ability to think critically, communicate, and their research skills that were associated with their completion of the AP Capstone program. If their student confidence, expertise, and passion will be exhibited in their interviews, their college admission interviews, and when they talk about their unique academic experiences. College admissions officers will know that students can build evidence-based arguments, apply research methods, work in teams, and deliver professional presentations and complete long-term academic projects, because each of those components is part of the AP Capstone program, and each of those components have been found to lead to successful student achievement in college. And finally, earning college credit. Many colleges will offer college credit for qualifying AP scores. So earlier, I referenced that there's a credential, that the student at the conclusion of their participation has the ability to earn one of 2 different credentials. So the first is the AP Capstone Diploma. A student that participates in this program after completing a year of AP seminar and receiving a 3 or higher on that assessment, and then a second year in AP research and receiving a 3 or higher in that assessment, if they also have sat for and received a 3 or higher on 4 additional AP exams, they are eligible for the AP Capstone Diploma. That is of profound significance. It differentiates that student from the majority of the applicant pool when that student's applying to a competitive college. However, there is a consolation prize that is by no means easy to obtain, but is and quite respectable, and that is the AP Seminar and Research Certificate. In order for a student to receive the certificate, they must complete AP Seminar and AP Research, receive a 3 or higher on those assessments. The difference between the 2 is that they don't need a 3 or higher on 4 additional AP exams.
So within the program, there is a commitment for professional development. And that commitment comes from the district, the school, and
the teachers involved in teaching the courses. The professional development consists of an in-person training that happens during the summer. It's a 5-day, extremely intensive training during that summer, and the teachers are required to do that training before they teach the particular course. So moving into the seminar course, the teachers would be being trained for the seminar course, and then as the research course is then added, more teachers would be trained for doing the research course. In addition to that, there's an online component for the training because the teachers are learning how to assess the work that the students are doing. And the AP Capstone program has this online training that the teachers do, and they do have to pass that in order to be qualified to do the actual evaluation of the student work. And so that is the professional development commitment that the teachers make with that.
So this slide and this part of the presentation really represents Mr. John Bishop, who is our high school social studies teacher. He's an amazing teacher, and he did a tremendous amount of research about AP Capstone. And he and we feel that AP Capstone is a great fit for Bellport High School. We feel our students will really greatly benefit from the program. They will develop the skills necessary to be successful in subsequent AP classes. They will be college and career ready. They will foster research, argumentation, communication skills. And they will allow students to collaborate on their research topics. And again, it really aligns so well with the work that we're doing K through 12.
So in the conversations that we've been having in the planning toward AP Capstone, we have been putting together a timeline that we would work toward. This year we're really in the research and study phase of the implementation of AP Capstone. Right now we are researching the program, we're conducting site visits to other schools that have already implemented the program so that we are learning how to best do that particular thing. Ms. O'Hagan and I have attended an AP Capstone Collegial Circle meeting, and we're scheduled to attend more of those throughout the school year, and just collaborating with these other AP Capstone schools. What that would then mean is the next school year would be our planning phase, planning for that implementation. We would put together the final details of that plan. We would list AP Seminar in the Bellport High School course catalog, and the teachers and administrators would be trained for that AP Seminar course in the summer of 2020. In the 2020-21 school year then would be our first phase of implementation, and the first cohort of students would then be taking AP Seminar. That particular year, the seminar and the research courses would be listed in the course catalog, and then the research teachers would be trained in the summer of 2021. Then in 2021-22 would be our full phase of implementation. The students in cohort 1 would then begin taking AP research, and the second cohort of students would then begin taking AP Seminar and we'd be in full implementation at that time. I think that's it. We want to thank you very much for your attention, and we would be glad to answer any questions that you have.
I'll just begin by commenting on Mr. Bishop.
Yes.
Your social studies teacher, who was in attendance at the committee meeting and was very passionate about this program. He benefited from having a family member who teaches capstone in
Yes.
another state, as I believe.
Yes.
And as I recall, he also said at the committee meeting that night, he would volunteer if he had to, because he believed so much in the program.
He is interested in teaching.
He was extremely passionate about it, Dr. Griffin. I'm sure
He
would
came
agree.
to us about AP Capstone.
Okay.
I had not gone to him. He came to us first. So.
Well, his passion certainly resonated with me, so I just wanted to make that comment for the rest of the board. I have 3 comments I'd like to begin with. I couldn't agree with you more about teaching our students to be critical thinkers. I was a late learner. I've shared this story many times. It took me 9 years to get through a 2-year community college. And then I went and finished my bachelor's and master's and, in my 50s. And it wasn't until my junior and senior year of college that I finally learned critical thinking. And I thought to myself at that time, I really would have enjoyed high school so much better if I had learned this then. So I couldn't agree with you more that critical thinking is essential for our students. I'm interested in knowing if we could advance the time frame. That might be a little too aggressive, but I would just put that out there. And then a question to the superintendent, how do we accommodate the training, the professional development training during the summer for the teachers? Just to
Well,
know.
we're advancing it probably would be a little quick because my understanding is we're doing a lot of research and planning just this year. So a bullet that is actually missing there is the one that should go right before the course catalog, and that has to do with the board approving. So,
We knew that when we went outside. We're playing five visits.
so after that research and planning comes forward, probably around this time next year, you would be approving the course to be included in the catalog if you choose to select for the following year.
Okay.
So there really is no.
So this is
moving
the
on.
time frame
Yeah,
that
this
we,
is the
that
time
we're
frame.
looking at. Okay. All right.
Well, I have two parts. The first is all about AP capstone. First is, what's the cost? Is it a similar cost to students taking a regular AP exam, considering it's not just a one-day exam? Is it more expensive? And what's the cost of the district to be part of this program?
Yeah, full disclosure, that's part of the research we're looking to do,
Okay.
is to understand what the costs are. And what's the cost not only of the program, not only of the exams, are they the same? Is it like the $85 that's the others? And what about the training that our teachers and our
Sure.
administration have to go through?
Because I would assume the district, we would
And
pay for teachers to become, for PD. for
Right.
that,
And
yes.
Dr. Griffin, I
So,
think that is the bulk of the financial responsibility that the district has, is the training for the teachers and the administrators in the summer previous to the course. The AP exams, I do believe, are just regular
Yeah.
$85
Yeah.
AP exam.
But to bring in the curriculum, there will be some cost associated with that. And that's why we're here tonight, is because Mr. Bishop and my three wonderful colleagues behind me, we've all been talking about this for about a year now, and then when Mr. Burke came on board, he picked up immediately, and then with Mr. Bishop, then bringing it up independently. So we think that this is a wonderful opportunity, but we full transparency, we don't have all the answers yet. And before we go down this path and we start visiting these schools and meeting with administrators, district office and teachers and students in other districts, we want to know that that our goals with this program align with that of the board. And one of those would be finding out all of the costs associated with it and reporting back.
okay, thank you, appreciate the honesty, because I'm just curious. It seems like a much more extensive thing rather than one-day test. You're now talking about other things that a student would need, so it seemed like it would be more. I know in my district, AP can replace English 11. Does this now replace English 10, 11, or 12? Can it replace?
That's part of the research that we are being involved in to determine, because every different school district that we have currently spoken to has a different plan for how they are addressing that. And so in their work, what they've done, they have found that fit that works best for their students.
So there's
and that's
one-
the recommendation that they've given to us as well, is that there will be various models that we would want to look at. There will be one that will be a right fit for our students. And so that is something that will be in the planning phase of the work that we do.
And a kind of a related question, is it a class? Is it a classroom setting, or is it independent study? Is it the kid has to report to this classroom? Is a teacher an advisor? Is a teacher scheduled for that class, or is now the teacher just an advisor whenever the student needs? Because if we're talking about the second year when they're doing the seminar, is it the teacher still lecturing and teaching, or is it just guidance as needed for the student?
It is a regular class, and students are
It's
scheduled
a
in,
full-
they attend throughout the course of their day. With the seminar, it's a little more tightly bound by that teacher in the classroom, though in the research course, the teacher works with the students too. That's part of the training that those teachers go through to find how to support the students in the writing of that research and the doing of that research. but they are working in a classroom with a teacher. There will be opportunities for those students to work with both other teachers in the school. They have opportunities to work with community members that they might learn from. They have opportunities to learn from higher ed professors and that sort of thing that they can learn from as well. So that it's expanded out beyond the classroom, but they do work with the teacher in the classroom.
It's like a classroom without walls, if that makes sense, right? So it's a classroom, but they're expanding it they're just life ready, you know, and it's like really like a classroom, but it's without walls because it's interdisciplinary.
So the other thing I think the board should be aware of, part of our site visits and part of our research will be to decide where it best fits in Belport High School in terms of grade implementation. Some schools implement it in 11 and 12, some do it in 10 and 11. I don't know if we've seen it in the 9th grade, but so we're going to take a look at these programs when we go to see them and see where that's going to fit best to support our AP curriculum and support advanced course levels for our students.
Kind of a related question then. How are we preparing the 9th graders then, if we're taking away honors?
Okay, I believe, right, that our humanities program in grade 9 is working extremely effectively this year. I think we are raising course rigor for all students. I do not think that our advanced students are suffering in any way. I think this might be a logical next step for them to go into a seminar course. Me personally, I can see a seminar course kind of setting the table for most of the AP courses which students take as juniors and seniors. So I do think our kids will be prepared for that course. I really do.
We'll go around.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, yeah, that's
We'll go around the horse, Ms. Costanza.
I've already done my own research and site visit.
Oh.
So I had the opportunity to sit in on a research class at Patchogue Medford High School. And I spoke,
what we're gonna look at.
I spoke extensively with Mr. Carpluck, who happens to be a social studies teacher there. And he teaches the research piece with Dr. Gantz, who's a science teacher. From his perspective, because he's been doing this a couple of years now, the seminar, he said, is a phenomenal course for any high school student to prepare them for all of those higher level thinking skills. So even if they don't intend to go on to research, that is a really phenomenal course for all students to take, which from my takeaway, I would love to see that implemented in the 10th grade. So we have the humanities in 9. The sooner we get our students to actually think, the better off we're going to be. I don't see why we have to wait till 11th or 12th grade for that because it's almost too late. And then the big key is having to do with how you implement the program. And he states that he could not imagine doing it without having 2 teachers scheduled. Because he's the social studies, social science person, and then he's got a scientist working with them, particularly for the research. Because research could be about, you know, people and emotions and whatnot, or some kids are doing real, more science-based research. So, and it always helps to have somebody who's really good with statistics and mythology and, you know, mythology. So, he really feels that it's very helpful to have 2 teachers.
Yeah, we got the same feedback from Massapequa School District too. They do it, co-taught social studies and English. So they said if you can co-teach it, it really is great for the kids.
Because the kids, even within that, are at different levels and have different questions. And, you know, in a 40-minute period, how much in-depth conversation can you have with kids? There's only one of you. So the 2 really does make a difference.
But both of your points, which are great points, that to Ms. O'Hagan's point, we start to get some of that feedback, and this year as we start to dig in and we start to meet with other districts, those are the questions we're going to ask, those are the models we're going to look at, and we're going to compare when the courses are offered, what the structure is, what the classroom makeup is, so that when we're ready to implement, assuming that that's what we do, we've taken the best from every district and we're ready to go.
And just to add on to that, I think Mr. Griffin had noticed how we have, great AP World History statistics. It's a 2-year course with the same teacher, because all that prep is done in the 9th grade. They're really taught how to be AP kids. And so I could just imagine if we had seminar, I see it as a very similar thing, and what tremendous success our students could have
Yeah,
then.
the skills will really transfer to the world.
It's the
Both
skills,
courses.
yeah.
Ms. Malin?
My question sort of was answered by some of what you'd seen and what you'd seen, where it falls discipline-wise.
Yeah.
And I know we've talked about Mr. Bishop, saying that he is interested in it, so I was interested to see where the feedback's been coming so far, to say whether it's a social studies type thing, science. I know some do the AP Psych as a science course, some do the AP Psych as a social studies course. So you can put some of these things, and like Mr. Hogan said, where it fits best for us, but I was just
Right.
curious what we'd seen so far and
The
sort of
schools that
already-
we've spoken to have all different models
All
within
different.
that.
Right.
There are schools that have taken, have started it with the ELA approach and then have added social studies, or maybe they've added the science to that, some with social studies and science. And I was talking to another group where they actually had a math teacher in that research course as well, because of the statistics component.
So the content of the research course is not tied to any specific curriculum, that's up
Whatever
to
the
the
kids pick.
student.
It is
Right,
student-
Okay,
exactly.
so it's student-centered as
Right.
to where
Yes.
they would like to drive that instruction.
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I understood that. Thank you.
I think this is a great start as far as AP is concerned. I think that it's a foundation. The seminar is the foundation. So I believe that the earlier that it gets started, 10th grade, as Ms. Santos said, is probably good. So by the time they graduate up and they're ready for college. So college isn't like, oh my God, at least they have the foundation building them up through the years, especially with research. You're really critical thinking and all of that. That's a difficult part of college when you start taking the psych classes and all of those. I think this is really, really a good start. Sounds very exciting. I think I'll have to come to the next teaching and learning.
I told you.
Yeah, and that
The meeting
sounds
I was
exciting.
the most happy about attending.
And Bishop
because-
is a great teacher.
Yeah.
He is.
Great
Oh,
teacher,
okay,
yes,
great.
yes.
All right, anybody else? Well, something else I enjoyed seeing from this presentation, Mr. Hogan, I shared this with you already when, as board president and being on the stage to hand out diplomas, I was so impressed with how the students responded to you and how grateful they were for the support that you gave them that day. And what I'm grateful for here today is to see how well you are working with our team of directors. So I think you complemented each other very well, and each took the part that you excel at, and it was a very nice demonstration of how well our school system is working, and so thank you very much. Thank you. All right, now do we need to give the nod that we want to
No,
continue
no,
with
no
the-
nod necessary.
To continue with the research?
No, not necessary.
Come back with
Not
more.
yet.
Good work.
Okay.
Keep visiting,
Okay.
keep visiting, when they
Yes,
come back
and
with
come
the
back with
numbers.
more.
Yeah, when they come back with the numbers.
All right, keep up the good work.
You really get to vote on those big dollars and
Where's the
cents.
dinner?
My goodness. Wow, quite a meeting tonight.
Yeah, we're
We're
not
not done yet.
done.
And we are nowhere near done.
We're not done.
Okay.
You're still up.
I'm still up. So, moving along, I thought I would update the board on some of our proactive security measures that we've implemented this school year. So if I might, I just will like to read from my list here. On October 2nd, all faculty and staff attended an active shooter training provided by Suffolk County Police Department. The training was in two parts. First, prevention, and second, what to do. This was a very informative and worthwhile training. Buildings have been debriefing on their own, and we will be forming a subcommittee of the Health and Safety Committee to review that input from the buildings. And further, we will be meeting with Suffolk County Police Department Homeland Security, who has offered to come back and chat with us about some of the feedback we did get from staff, so we might proactively tweak our plan and address some of the concerns that we have. Next, on November 15th, we will continue our efforts in the area of gang awareness. Administrators will be trained on identifying gang signs and related clothing. The training will be conducted by our new consultants, Global Threat Solutions, who are currently working with us on the appendix and code of conduct. And I am aware the board did have some questions on that. We hope to be able to address those questions during that training and be able to come back to the board sometime afterwards. As the board is aware, our architect has designed plans for security vestibules in each of our primary schools. Plans for Vern W. Kritz and Brookhaven are completed, and we're in the process of getting state ed approval. The vestibule at Kramer, however, is a little more complicated due to the small area and the cafeteria exit being so close to the entrance. As a result, administration believes we should construct the vestibule outside under the awning by Kramer, if you're familiar with that area, and we would recommend including that construction in the window replacement project we hope to bring to you during budget time. In addition to our electronic lockdown capabilities, we now have electronic lockout capabilities, meaning with a flip of a switch, all exterior doors will lock and not allow access to the building with a key fob. Interior doors would continue to function normally in a lockout. In the past, we only had lockdown capabilities. Lockdown capabilities are when all interior and exterior doors lock down and are not accessible through the building in any classroom with a key fob. What we had done in the past, when we said we were on exterior lockout, we just monitored the doors.
Do we have any visual cue on the outside of the building for someone to know that there's something going on, such as
No, we don't, and that's one of the issues that came back from the debriefing that we're going to
Yeah,
follow.
because I know some other buildings have that, like in case someone's left during the day and they're coming back to the building.
They don't know what's going on.
Yeah, some buildings do have a light outside.
We're going to address that for the debriefing.
The switch that goes in lockdown or now lockout, is that only in each individual building, or am I mistaken, is there one in central office for each building?
No.
It's only in each building, right?
It's in the building.
Can't be done
So we have the
offsite.
capability to do it electronically over the computer.
So we
Central
can,
office
so
does
central
have
office can
capability.
lock down a building from central office through the computer, that was the question?
Yes.
Okay.
But we don't have a switch. So
It's not a switch, but it's capability through the computer. Okay, thank you.
Moving along, each of our buildings now have SAVE phones lines installed. The acronym SAVE stands for School Active Violence Emergency. The hotline is a dedicated phone line that provides immediate, direct communication between the schools and the Suffolk County Police Department 911 Communication Center in the event of an active shooter situation. The Rave Panic button, we talked about this earlier this year. We're in the process of setting up the Rave Panic button in each of our schools. Administrators have downloaded the app. Campuses have been created, and we are in the process of entering some additional detail into the app, such as floor plans, et cetera, so that can be accessed by outside, by the police or fire department, et cetera. But we are basically functional right now with regard to the app for those who have it on. Staff ID access. We are in the process of retaking photographs of all faculty and staff members for our new ID cards. The new IDs will also serve as key fobs to access buildings and classrooms, thereby eliminating all of our current key fobs. We're also planning to use that technology for faculty and staff to tap in and tap out of buildings, so we can account for who is in the building in the event of an emergency.
Question?
Yes.
Does that, for the tap in and tap out, I know I've asked this in the past, is there capabilities to also use that for staff attendance to help automate payroll?
There's capabilities, however, that would have to be negotiated.
Say that again?
Yes, because we don't, my understanding, under the advice of council, because staff sign in without a time, we may need to negotiate that.
So I understand this, there's a contractual beginning and end to staff members' day.
Yes.
And we have to negotiate in the contract how we track that and manage our payroll system?
I'll defer
I
to
mean-
council, but I already gotten advice from council that we have to look at that. So we are not currently planning on using the tap in and tap out for tennis purposes. We're using the tap in and tap out for safety.
No, and I get that, but I thought there was, so,
I mean, we have the capabilities to do that.
I mean, for me, at this day and age, for an organization as big as ours, or municipality as big as ours, to be doing payroll and on pen and paper, pencil and paper, is when it should be automated to cut back on paper and increase efficiencies and everything else. You know, it's time we get up to the time, so, but to say it has to be negotiated, I don't understand how.
Council answer, please.
Sidetrack.
Go ahead. So, the issue that have to be reviewed is the extent to which employees participate in the sign-in, sign-out process. So, in terms of what PERB says, what is negotiable is the extent to which teachers or other staff members participate in the sign-in, sign-out process, as to whether it is an extension of, whether that is a mandatory subject of bargaining. So if you have a sign-in and you put the time in, the move to a biometric system or any other system is not a mandatory subject of bargaining, because there is no change in the extent to which a teacher or staff member participates in the sign-in, sign-out process. So we have to look to see whether or not, by moving to the system, we are increasing the extent to which a staff member participates in the timekeeping process.
Okay. I'll just go around all night, so I'll end it. Sure. Yeah, thank you.
And lastly, as a preventative measure, administration would like to conduct random canine sweeps at the high school and the middle school as a means to deter students from bringing illegal substances on campus. I've spoken with other school districts who conduct such sweeps, and they report that have been very effective in keeping illegal substances out of their schools. Clearly, before moving forward, I wanted to have the discussion with the board, and I'm not looking for an answer tonight. I certainly will allow the board plenty of time to think about it, but it is something that we think will help deter things being brought into
Before we
schools.
go to the canine, I'll go to you in a minute, Liz. I just have one, I just wanted to back up to the staff ID.
I'm sorry.
With respect to the lanyards. Mr. Warmberg, would you mind demonstrating for me? Can you pull on your lanyard? Does it break away? Good.
We got those.
We have them now?
We have them now.
Perfect, thank you. It makes me very happy.
And he's not even wearing his cape. He doesn't even have his cape on. They had a cape
Could a normal human being do that though?
A non-superhero do that.
All right, good. That was always a pet peeve of mine, that we had lanyards that didn't break away. And it's dangerous, and now we're good. Mr. Santa?
I'm all in favor of the canine sweeps. This came up, I think, even before you were here, and I was in favor of it then. And
I'm sorry, did you say you are?
I'm definitely
You are.
in favor
Okay.
of that.
Okay.
And also, it kind of ties in, so I'm gonna go there now. It came up at the PTSA meeting at the high school, where I myself and the other parents there are in favor of breathalyzer at the high school dances, because it is needed.
I think that's followed by a ba-dum-bum.
I had to go there. I refrained earlier during my report about the PTSA meeting, and a couple other things, but that, I have to.
I made a note of that.
We seek advice from council on that as well.
I
Dr.
think
Griffin.
sometimes we just need a deterrent.
I think it's duly noted. Dr. Griffin?
From your discussion with other districts, are they announcing the canine visits to faculty, staff? Is it surprise for everybody? What does it look like?
I think it's an announcement that they will happen, not
when?
Not when it will happen.
And when they say it's been effective in reducing, what are they seeing as their evidence of a reduction?
Less evidence collected. Less evidence collected.
So, you know, I.
So they're finding less, the dogs
They're
are
finding-
finding
So they're
dogs are
seeing
finding
fewer
less.
kids coming in with visible and smell evidence of
So the dogs walk the halls and the locker rooms while the kids are in class. Because the district only owns the locker. They don't own what's on their persons in
Right.
terms of searching. So when the dog smells something, he or she lays down. And then it's our locker, so we open it up. And when the kids, the superintendents I spoke to, when the kids see the dogs, they become real agitated. In fact, one superintendent actually has a friend of his bring in a shepherd that's not, he doesn't even. Kids got so used to the real dog being there.
I didn't know if you were gonna tell that story.
I couldn't read it. That is not our
it's
intent.
like a dummy camera.
Which is just brilliant.
So
You know,
what
the
about
superintendent
a
fits.
If it's, no, if
Just has to
it's
be the
got, if it's in the
locker.
locker, if it's in the locker. Because again, the kids are in, the dog's not walking through the population.
And if the dog smells it
He lays
on a
down.
kid walking past,
Well, they
wouldn't be
kids will,
past.
the kid won't be there.
well,
Unless
go to the
unless it's passing
bathroom,
in the
or that's what I
hallway.
mean. Well, if the
Yeah,
kid sees the
well,
dog, probably walk the other way.
That's another advice to counsel.
But what's the likelihood that, you know, if somebody has something on their person, I mean, if they're not around the population of students, you know, if they have it on them, is it futile, or are they still, I don't know anything about the scent and how long it sticks around. But I mean, they're gonna be able to tell it's on somebody in the door when they're walking by, or if a student doesn't put it in the locker, it's useless, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Ms. Mail?
So, one of the newest issues not only is the drugs, but it's all the vaping and the paraphernalia and all of that. So I fully support the dogs, but are the dogs capable of smelling any of that kind of thing?
The dogs,
Or,
narcotics or bombs,
okay,
and not both. So it's a different.
It's one or the
dog.
other, right?
It's a different dog, yeah.
and they don't smell, so you're saying narcotics?
So if it's a marijuana vape, I guess yes, right? I don't know.
Yeah,
the answer.
that's what I'm just sort of seeing,
I don't know.
how technologically advanced have the dogs become?
Yeah, they gotta catch up here, they gotta send them back to school.
I don't know.
I, just to the point though that we brought up, I would wonder if we could, instead of having them, or maybe in addition to randomly, be at least in the entranceway as the students are entering the building. It just seems useless to me that if it's on somebody's, in their pocket, you're not gonna catch them, so, you know, and now that we're sitting here talking about it in public, not that there's any students here, but remember, you know, for the 4 people watching us on YouTube right now that maybe spread it around the school, it just seems silly to me to not go all the way and maybe have the dogs at the entrance as students walk past.
I think we have search issues, but I can we could ask council to provide.
This will be another one of those places where I'll just scratch my head, because if you walk through a mall, or I walk through an airport every single week, and every single week I walk past a bomb or drug sniffing dog, so why is, you know, entering school any different?
It has to,
I don't know, I don't know.
Because it is.
It should be. It's ludicrous that it is, but we're gonna argue about that after the meeting. It's absolutely ludicrous that it is.
You have a legal right to be educated, you don't have a legal right to be in the airport.
Okay, understood, but they don't have a legal right to bring guns or weapons into a building, so.
Understood, but
And we should have the ability to do.
You're compelled to.
correct, and that
Okay.
becomes, the Supreme Court's ruled on this.
But you're not compelled to bring
yeah.
drugs or guns into school.
The superintendent needs direction from the
Yes.
board to pursue going forward with the random canine.
Yes, and then some.
Yes, yes?
I would certainly make the community and our staff aware that they're gonna happen. We're not gonna just show up with some doors. But we will make them aware. Okay, thank you.
Well, we'll be making our schools safer, that's our goal.
I think so. Okay, and that is all I have in terms of items for discussion. Shall I move into curriculum?
We're back to, yes, more for consent items.
Yes, moving on, administration recommends approval of curriculum items reflected in schedules G1 through G5.
Okay, again, consent agenda. Need a motion and a second. Motion by Ms. Hunt, second by Mr. Nix. Discussion? No discussion? All those in favor, G1 through 5, raise your hands. Thank you. Put them down. Seeing all hands raised, G1 through 5 passes unanimously.
And moving along to personnel, administration recommends approval of personnel changes reflected in schedules H1 through H8.
And we have H1 through 8. Motion and a second. Ms. Malin, seconded by Mr. Nix. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor, raise your hands, please. Thank you. Put them down. Seeing all hands raised, H1 through 8 passes unanimously.
And I would like to announce a new member of the family. The board just approved Mr. Wala Canario from Middle School Science. He's with us today. Mr. Canario, welcome. And moving along to business, administration recommends approval of business items reflected in schedules I1 through I11.
Okay. Okay, I went through I-11. Everyone's gone. Seconded by Ms. Malin. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you. Put them down. Seeing all hands raised, I-1 through 11 passes unanimously.
And that is all I have.
Brings us up to public commentary. Do we have any other cards? There are no other cards. We will dispense with the guide to the board meeting reading. And that brings us to closing remarks by board members. We'll start with you, Dr. Cook.
No comment.
Mr. Nix.
Vote on November 6th.
Ms. Hunt, we save you to the end. Mr. Santo.
Once again, I want to thank Kramer Street School for the wonderful recognition.
Okay. Ms. Malin.
Very quickly, I forgot to mention it earlier. Thank you for the eSchool app for Parent Portal. It's so much easier to use than trying to navigate on your phone through the website. So I've already been playing in there on the parent side, and I'm sure my kids thank you because it's much easier for me to get in and see them. But it's easy, and thank you.
You're welcome.
No, and I did too.
I'm teasing.
You and I were going back and forth
No, we
the other
talked
day.
about this. I think I've asked for it before, and a parent asked me, and I'm like, you know what? Why don't I just search the App Store?
I know,
And sure enough, there it
I
was.
texted you and said, there it is. But thank you for making
I'm
it
teasing,
accessible
I'm just
because it really is, and for putting the call out that it was accessible. So again, going to the
That was a big hit
notification,
for sure.
communication piece, so thank you.
Yeah, that was definitely a big hit.
That's it for me.
Mr. Pacini.
I know we're running late. I don't want to take up too much time, but I know there were some emails, and I made a recommendation in regards to the school meal plan. And if we want to maybe table it and put it on a future agenda, but, I'll state it here publicly, I believe that the district can absorb the cost for the parents to pay towards that My Meal plan. I was a part of a discussion with some parents the other day about how the discussion was, it was both online and in person, about how I shouldn't have to pay a fee to pay for my kid's lunch. So I just send in a check or cash. That creates extra steps. It's a problem. I believe the number was $10K that the fees generate in a school year. I think that's something we can easily absorb, especially through a self-sustaining fund like the cafeteria fund. So I guess my question would be, that I didn't ask in email, is maybe when we do discuss it, can we see expense and revenue for that fund specifically?
Sure, so we did put it on the agenda for next time.
We did, okay. I know there was gonna be
Very
my,
collecting some options.
great, okay, thank you. So we can, with that, that's all I have, thank you.
Yeah, in reviewing for tonight's meeting, Dr. Gianni and I spoke yesterday. We went through the emails, and that was one of the items that we agreed to put on the next agenda.
Gotcha.
Also, with respect to Mr. Nix's question about dancing classrooms, I'm going to go to dancing classrooms tomorrow And so that will also discuss at another agenda as well. Also, I forgot to mention just quickly with the Strategic Planning Committee, we did agree to begin the process of establishing the Legislative Action Committee. And that'll be a subcommittee out of the strategic planning, so more to follow on that. Okay, and Ms. Revere.
Thanks again to Kramer Street and Principal Clark. Thank you to Donors Choose and those individuals making donations in support of a classroom project in Mr. Perkins' class at Frank P. Long Intermediate School.
All right. So my day started out talking to 200 retirees this morning, so it was a nice way to segue to tonight's meeting to see our presentation by the third graders, which was just phenomenal. So again, our hats off to the Kingdom at Kramer. And without any further items, we will take a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mr. Nix, seconded by Ms. Malin. All those in favor, raise your hands. We stand adjourned at 10:15.
So let's have this organized. There's no way that has to be. So I just acted as board president Floyd.